guess it was kind of a miracle you finding me.
In a way, I was following you.
You were following me?
Oh, Paul, I've read everything of yours, but the Misery novels. You must be a good man, or you could never have created such a wondrous, loving creature as Misery Chastain.
Welcome back to The Vortex. Today we're diving into Stephen King's Misery and looking at some of the killer scenes that were left out. Now, we all love the 1990 movie with James Caan and Kathy Bates. It's a psychological horror classic. But as always, the book goes way further into the darkness, and there are some key moments that didn't make it into the final cut of the film. First up, let's talk about the infamous bucket scene. In the film, we know Annie is controlling and violent, but this particular moment in the book is downright disturbing. After Paul rejects Annie's soup, she throws it at him in a rage. But here's where it gets really messed up. She cleans the floor with a harsh solution that gives off this nauseating smell, and then forces Paul to drink from the same bucket she used to clean up. It's the first real indication that Annie isn't just unstable, she's capable of true sadism. This scene really sets the tone for what's to come, and it's a key moment that makes you realize just how twisted she is. The movie skips over this, but I think it's one of the most powerful moments in the book. Another massive difference between the book and the film is how often Paul leaves his room. In the movie, there's that one big escape where Paul manages to get out, finds the kitchen knife, and then hides it under his bed. But in the book, he's sneaking out of his room multiple times, searching for painkillers, food, or anything that might help him survive. During one of Annie's episodes, Paul even uses this opportunity to explore more of the house. But Annie is very clever. She left traps and tiny hairs across drawers and scratches on the door to check if Paul had been snooping around. When she finds out that he's been moving around, it sends her into a full-blown rage, and you know she's about to escalate things even further. This adds so much tension in the novel, and Paul is constantly balancing his need to survive with the fear of being caught.
Eventually, you'll come to accept the idea of being here.
Annie, whatever you're thinking about doing, please don't do it.
Now we've got to talk about that bone-chilling, ankle-breaking scene. In the film, it's iconic, and Annie's use of the sledgehammer is brutal enough. But in the book, it's even worse. Annie doesn't just break Paul's ankles, she chops his foot off entirely. That's right, she takes an axe and cuts it clean off, and then cauterizes the wound with the blowtorch. It is pure horror. The filmmakers decided to tone this down for the movie, and honestly, I get it. It would have been way too graphic for most audiences, and it's hard to imagine people still feeling that twisted sympathy for Annie after watching her commit this level of brutality. But in the book, it's a crucial turning point where you realize there's no limit to what Annie is willing to do to keep Paul under her control. One of the biggest omissions from the movie, though, has to be the lawnmower scene. And trust me, if you've only seen the movie, you're missing out on this truly terrifying moment. In the book, a young sheriff comes to investigate Paul's disappearance. When Annie realizes he's onto her, she takes him out in the most brutal way possible. She runs him over with a sit-on lawnmower. Paul watches from the window as Annie dismembers the sheriff with the blades, and there's blood spraying everywhere. It's truly shocking, and it really drives home just how far Annie is willing to go to protect her secret. This scene is completely left out of the film, probably because of how difficult it would be to shoot, but also because it's just over-the-top gory.
You dirty bird. How could you? Misery Chastain cannot be dead.
Misery Spirit is still alive.
I don't want her spit!
And finally, another thing that the film downplays is Annie's obsession with Paul's Misery novels. In the book, she's not just a crazed fan, she's consumed by the character of Misery, and it's one of the main reasons she kidnaps Paul in the first place. She's read the entire series multiple times and even tells Paul that Misery is her reason for living. Her fixation drives everything she does, and in the book, this obsessive energy is even scarier. She doesn't just want Paul to write another novel. She wants him to rewrite the entire Misery story the way she believes it should be told. This deeper motive for kidnapping him adds another layer to her madness and gives the story an extra psychological edge. So what do you guys think? Should some of these brutal scenes have been included in the movie, or do you think they made the right call to tone things down? Personally, I think the lawnmower scene alone would have made Misery even more horrifying on screen, but maybe that's just me. Let me know in the comments what your favorite scene from the book is, and if you think Misery deserves a remake. Potentially one that includes a little bit more blood and guts. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.